All right. So thank you for coming. So we're going to talk about how we are. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Talk about how we are using, or at least going to use, Yugabyte in Authlete. Our presenter today is me. I'm the VP of Engineering. My name is Henrik. And Zola and Ono from our DevOps team who actually implemented this. Start with an introduction of Authlete. Maybe I can turn on the video. So Authlete was founded here in Japan 8 years ago. We're a very global company. We have about 30 members now from all over the world. We provide an identity component as a service, or you can call it an authorization backend for backends. So that means our customers use our solution to build authorization and identity into their own services. As you can see on the diagram, we are really the backend of the backend. And of course, behind that, we have a database. Speaking of which, this is our usual infrastructure on our dedicated cloud solution. As you mentioned, we provide both managed software as a service and on-premise if our customers want to run themselves. When we manage it, we run it on GKE, Google Cloud, and we use Cloud SQL in high availability mode. So yeah, it has a failover MySQL database and what connects to the GKE cluster. The problems we run into this is, the main one is the maintenance of Cloud SQL. So that happens approximately once every quarter. It takes about 1 minute. And we get notified in advance. So it's not actually a lot of downtime, but it means we need to notify all our customers. Many of them want to reschedule. Some of them want to reschedule many times. So there's a high support cost for this. Other issues, performance is not a big issue yet. We can still keep scaling up. We are still using quite small instances. We have had requirements from on-premise customers who want very high scalability. At that point, we didn't have Yugabyte as an option, but if we had, I'm sure we would have introduced it. High availability. So as I mentioned before, the maintenance is about 5 minutes per year. Sometimes a Cloud SQL instance goes down about once per year in total. So the availability is quite good, but it's hard to distribute this across multiple regions. So we have a disaster recovery kind of options where we can fail over to another region, but it's not full real-time replicated across regions. And being able to do this, and especially globally, provides us with a good option. It's fairly easy to deploy the Authlete server globally in a distributed way. But if we don't have the database, it's not much to do with it. So being able to scale up and down the DB without downtime would be an advantage for us, because sometimes our customers ask us to scale up their environments and on the compute side. So the Authlete server, that's fairly easy. But on the database side, it incurs a small downtime. So we've been talking since 2020 about ways to resolve this. You can see some names of options we've considered. We want to have a managed solution because we're a small team, so we don't want to have a separate database admin team just to run this. We need good compatibility for our YugabyteDB middleware layer, which is compatible with MySQL, Postgres, and Oracle. But we don't really, again, we're a small team, so building up support for a completely different database solution would just take too much time for us right now. It's ideal if we can also provide this as an option for our on-premise customers. So not something that's strongly tied to a particular cloud vendor would be good. And of course, we want to have good support and an option to partner, which I think one of the biggest upsides of Yugabyte is the great support we receive. So, Zolo, can you talk about our technical?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I hope people on Zoom can hear us. Okay. I'll be talking about some initial compatibility test and performance tuning for the next 2 minutes. Yeah. So in Authlete, we use Postgres, MySQL, and Oracle as a DB, and we have some customers running Postgres in their production. So Authlete works with Postgres, and YugabyteDB is Postgres compatible. So I expect it to just work out of the box, right? And I think that's the first thing I wanted to test in our testing. So in Authlete, we have about 200 unit tests that we use to test our software. And I think, we thought it would be a good way to make sure that Yugabyte works with Authlete well. Yeah, so passing those tests were the first step. I spin up Authlete and Yugabyte Docker images locally and start running our tests. And on the left, you can see this little emoji crying because there were some tests failing. And after reading through the error and going through documentation, I found this flag which will just set the isolation level to read committed. And then, well, you can see it's happy now. We had all the tests running, passing. So basically did two things, just spin up Yugabyte Docker container locally and set a flag, and we could make sure our tests were passing. So I would say it's pretty little effort to make things work. So now we know Authlete works with YugabyteDB, but we want to know how well it works. So yeah, we want to do some load testing and see how Yugabyte behaves under stress, and obviously measure numbers and see like latency and see how many requests per second we are processing, and draw a conclusion about it. So you can see on the right bottom, that's the setup I use for load testing. So basically deployed 3 Authlete pods on GKE and created Yugabyte managed cluster on GCP with VPC peering. And in Authlete, we have internal performance testing tool called PrevTest. And I think I ran from 100 RPS to 700 RPS in our testing, but mostly concentrated on 100 to 300 RPS. And so to make this setup work, had to create a Yugabyte cluster, managed cluster, and add Yugabyte smart driver to our code. So it's still a small effort, I would say. Yep. And after testing, we thought we could improve the performance. If you have ever used Yugabyte Managed before, there's something called a performance advisor, quite neat tool. If you just press the scan, then you can see your slow queries and have to performance tune them. And we use this, which improved the performance a lot. And after that, we still thought there's more things to do, and thanks to Gwen, we worked together to make things better. And just summarizing what we did is, so we enabled a bunch of flags and changed some setups. and Gwen is telling me, hey, do you want to change this? And I didn't know what we were exactly doing, so I just said, okay, let's do it. And that's my contribution. Yeah, and also so this is quite an important point. Yugabyte managed is supposed to be zero downtime, and we want to make sure we get zero downtime. So we ran load testing and upgraded Yugabyte while doing that. I think this will be explored more in the coming talk. So I will just leave it there, and I'll say we assured quite satisfactory results. And I will hand over my talk to Arne from here. Okay, so I will be talking about compatibility and integration of Yugabyte at Authlete. So I've been working on integrating Yugabytes, like in the CI and stuff. So the first issue I did run into was that Yugabyte is working similarly to Postgres, but in some cases, not everything was completely implemented. So when we are using Liquibase at Authlete, and when doing the CI, we want to try updating our DB and also applying rollbacks to check that everything is working well and that it's going to be working on the client side. And the issue I got was that Yugabyte wasn't compliant with the alter column to pass from int to small int, which is not usual to do, but in the case of a rollback, it can be. So we worked with the Yugabyte team, and they were quite quick to fix the issue. So thanks to them. Also, the second issue I got was that when so in Authlete we are using SQL queries directly in the server code, and we are doing retries, but only on the most important calls. And the issue was that the not important one were sometimes breaking when we were rolling updates of Yugabytes, and when one of the nodes was going down. So I did refactor a bit the DB layer on our side to make retries every time. And I also changed a bit the smart driver tuning to get the nodes list refresh quickly. So currently our tuning is 1 second, so that if a client makes a call and one of the nodes is called by Authlete and it's down, then we retry 1 second later, and at least 1 second later, we are sure that the list is up to date, so it's not going to crash again. So that's the second thing I did. And for the integration, actually, I didn't have to do a lot because Yugabyte is providing a Docker image that you can use, and it's working kind of the same as the Postgres one. So in our CI, we were already using Postgres. So I basically copy pasted what we did on Postgres. And basically the same tools are included inside. So if you want to wait for the DB to start, like to be sure that the DB is running up, basically it's the same as Postgres. So you don't have to change a lot on your pipeline. And for the conclusion, that's for Henrik.
Yeah, so finally, the conclusion and next step now is, so it's working fine, thanks to DevOps pros and support from Yugabyte. So we're going to do a pilot project to test this with our customer who is cooperating to get some real world usage data. We are also telling our customers that Yugabyte is one of the officially supported options that they can use as a database when they run on-premise. And after the hopefully successful conclusion of the pilot project, we will provide Yugabyte as an option for our managed customers who want a higher availability and zero downtime. All right, thank you. So questions?
Any question? By yourself.
So actually the node list is refreshed automatically by smart driver. So you have to update it by yourself if you are only using Postgres driver. But if you are using the smart driver, it will do it for you. The only thing is that in our case, we should provide a call in under a second. So if we are not updating the node lists fast enough, we are going to get some calls that will not be handled. So I think the default one was 20 seconds, and I changed it to 1 second to be sure, because I mean 1 second is not that much. So yeah.
You are true.
Yeah.
Keep it.
Okay, no question on that. Thank you again.